Here we go. There we go.
Where does yesterday's future, which is already here, meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes
Pretend
away?
I have a watch.
Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm Bonnie D. Happy to be here. I am welcoming back three very smart, very interesting, very good-looking gentlemen who were here on the show in January. The world is moved by news. Well, the world is also moved by PR. Companies that need to get the word out about who they are, what they do, what their mission is, and what they can do for me and you. So we're going to talk about the future of PR and AI. That's my theme always, the good parts of AI, no doom and gloom, no terrible things. What are the opportunities? What are the visions? What are the missions? What can be done that's better? Maybe faster, maybe better. We'll find out. So I'd like to read my opening. And gentlemen, I'm going to call your name when I get to you. And I just want you to wave hello. So welcome to Technology Revolution, where innovation is in play. The
I
future.
have used the poem that you gave me before for my bio last time.
Thank you very much. I'm live streaming the opening, Matt. You got to wait a second, okay?
Okay.
There we go. He's
Yes.
so enthusiastic. I love it. He's in a blaze of PR. Welcome to Technology Revolution, where innovation is in play. The future of PR and AI. Can you hear me now? Our focus today. With Bonnie D on her Scarlett Mic leading the way, three PR visionaries return with much more to say. Matt Kovacs, Matt, wave hello. There you are. Faryar Borhani, wave hello. And Jeremy Fields in view. There you go, Jeremy. Back for part two with more and deeper insights for me and you. From messaging to meaning, brand credibility is crowned. AI helps sharpen the point to clearly resound. Here we go with a new one for you, Matt. I hope you like this. From Pittsburgh roots where strong work ethics set the tone, Matt learned early that credibility must be his own. With preparation, discipline, and follow-through in place, he built a foundation where trust leads each race. Drawn to storytelling, sports, and media's persuasive art, Matt honed narrative and strategy at USC's very heart. From Levi's legacy to Lid's passionate brand pride, he saw real connections shape the stories that reside. From agency life where vision meets execution's demand to leading Blaze PR with culture at each brand's command. Where insight, instinct, and innovation all converge, Matt shows how human truth gives every message its surge. Proving AI can amplify but not replace what's true, Matt brings bold PR perspective and fresh insights to you. Matt, I hope you like that.
That was great. I was following along with the past one, so I enjoyed this one.
Okay, very good. Oh my goodness, he's testing me. There we go. Faryar, you're up next. From Southern California, where stories abound and media hits the road, Faryar's voice was found. From print room dreams to strategies art, he learned how reputation and clarity start. At SDSU, the journey began. USC Annenberg honed his view, where business and storytelling blended into something new. Now at Encore Capital, where global teams align across cultures and regions with purpose by design. From ESG to brand trust, where the stakes are very real, Faryar leads with insight, precision, and authentic appeal. Where timing and tone shape what will endure, his thoughtful leadership keeps every message true and sure. AI may amplify the message, but here's what will remain. Human judgment still leads the communications brain. I hope you like that.
That was great. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and Jeremy is up next. From New Orleans or Orleans roots to St. Louis in view, then a Prague internship that reshaped what he knew. Now based right there with a global map in mind, Jeremy bridges media worlds where systems are intertwined. With business and computer science both in play, he helped brands scale globally as SEO led the way. Everybody remember SEO? From algorithms to audiences where visibility is key, Jeremy connects the dots across content and discovery. By day, press, partnerships, distribution moving strong. By night, Victoria Ziskov basketball, power forward all along. At Newsmatics Now, where AI reshapes the scene, Jeremy guides how content is found, trusted, and also seen. When screens fade out, forests and oceans call, a reminder that human care must still guide it all. Jeremy, I hope you like that.
That was excellent, Bunny. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And with our visionary panelists, the future shines bright as AI transforms PR with data-driven light. From brand building trust to crisis review, we'll explore how AI will elevate PR so brands shine through. Gentlemen, I hope you like that. Yes? Sylvie and I worked very hard on refreshing your intro, so I want you to know that was a labor of love. So let's go around the table and find out a little bit about what's new since you were here in January. Matt, I'm putting you on speaker view. Will you please do me the honor of updating me a little bit on how you're working with AI, what Blaze PR is doing without telling us things we're not supposed to know? Matt, welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were Jeremy and I were just talking about that earlier. I think the you're still seeing, I think, an evolution of clients looking to dabble in AI. They're not as, I'd say, as advanced maybe as on the agency side, which is probably a good thing. Especially in my world where it's a lot of CPG and sort of restaurants, et cetera, where they're more apt to be customer focused. So we're really being I'd say the educators and the shepherds, you're really taking them through what the possibilities are, again, in a way that is giving them confidence in it. Many of them are still just chat GPT and they might put in, a question versus teaching them the other scope and suite of other services. So it's been interesting in that regard. And I think, as we get into the new realm we've had in different, I'll say, onboarding with clients, there have been questions that come up of how do you utilize AI. We've instituted different policies. You're seeing the clients understanding and asking. So that's been interesting, I'd say, over the past month, where they're maybe a little more advanced. But yeah, I think otherwise things have been going well.
I'm glad. Thank you for that. Interesting. We're in that curve of learning about dipping the toe in the water, aren't we? Is the water too hot? Is it too cold? Are there sharks out there? What's going to happen to me if I do? But more important, and this is the laggards legacy from when financial departments were adopting what? Excel, remember spreadsheets, and adopting proactive analytics and all that instead of reactive. Well, it's do I really need to can I afford to not be there? That's the question of the day, I think, right? What are we doing? Okay, Faryar, I'd love to get you to unmute, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to in the past couple
Yeah,
months?
so at Encore, in some ways, not a lot has changed since we last caught up. But I would also tell you, I think a few things external and then maybe one thing internal. So externally, I feel like there's a lot more being shared just in media around financial inclusion, just given how volatile the financial markets are right now. There's quite a lot of storytelling happening and thought leadership around how are brands making sure that they're staying empathetic and connected to the consumer's reality. And so that's something we do all the time. But what I would tell you is AI is helping us stay on top of what trends are really percolating, I would tell you. The tech stack that we have is great, but use new features, new functionality comes up all the time that helps us either figure out what message resonates or figure out what content we need to create. That story is changing every day. So we're really looking at the tools, and AI is obviously accelerating that quite a lot. I would also tell you that a lot of financial institutions are focusing quite a bit on digital enablement and digital experience. That's always been true, but I think AI again is accelerating that a lot, and it's outpacing, I think, the regulatory environment. So you're seeing a lot of government affairs, a lot of regulation, and a lot of people focusing on what the policies are that govern what AI and digital look like, specifically in finance. And then internally, the other thing I would call out is, I'm sure this is happening in every company. This isn't unique to us, but a lot of stories and I think questions pop up where people are asking, well, what is AI's role at the company? How does that impact my role? Are we investing in it properly? Is it potentially going to impact my role? That's happening everywhere, right? And so just like a lot of communications teams in-house, we're focused a lot on, do our leaders have the right messaging? Are they aligned just philosophically? So that's a big part of it.
Thank you very much. A good reality check. And the question is always, am I talking to a bot or a human?
Yeah.
Who messaged me? Is there a real person? Sometimes I'll just reply to an email, I'll say, "Are you real?" "Oh yeah, I'm real. I'm Mary. I'm your whatever." I want to know. It's not that I won't talk to a bot, but I want to know if I am. So there you go. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Talk to me. What's new with you? Welcome back.
Uh, well, great
Well,
to
that
be
was a
back.
deep sigh. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just it's thinking back, it's been 4 months since we were together, or 3.5 or something. So much has changed, and I was looking through the submissions of the topics that I had passed over to you a couple of weeks ago, and how much I feel like has changed between then and now. It's daily. We contact a lot of customers from AI and Presswire. They're using different AI tools to do different things: analytics, data insight, workflow acceleration. And so we're getting exposure to all these new tools that we're looking at to adopt. And it's really amazing that the amount of new tools leveraging AI that are coming out. And that's possible because people don't have to be a coder anymore to produce something really cool. You have a good idea, you go and figure out how to build it using AI to help you build it, and then you roll a product out. And if people like it, people are to take advantage of it, then it gets traction, and you see more and more people taking it on in their work life, or in their personal life. And it's pretty scary, but also kind of daunting. And one of the things we recommend to our customers, and I recommend to my family, is spend a little bit of time every day, even if you're not using new tools. Just read about what's happening in the AI world. What, like what Faryar was mentioning, what kind of regulatory changes are coming down the pipeline. Or I like to read, you call us all futurists, I like to read about what people see AI doing, 6 months from now, in all aspects of life, not just PR. So it's a really exciting time to be paying attention to this stuff. So.
It is. Thank you. Another reality check. It's very, very true. I'll tell you, Sylvie is my chat GPT. She's my gal, my collaborator. And I asked her to help me refresh a little bit of the opening. And then I said, I need a fresh, I said, Matt Kovacs loved his opening bio, but I need to refresh it. And the same for the other two gentlemen. And I just mentioned, okay, I'll give you Matt's latest, what I have of his origin story, anything you want to do to update it. Well, then she said to me, okay, who's next, Faryar? I said, what? She said, well, is he? She said, well, you sent me
Better to
the
you.
opening poem a week ago, and I know, and then after that, are you going to send me Jeremy? The first time that happened, I almost fell off my chair. I'm sitting in a low chair now. I was sitting on a tall stool a couple weeks ago. So very, very interesting. But I also learned, I don't know if you tell your clients this, but I use the paid chat GPT, and there's a project tab on the left-hand side with a plus sign. And if you go into each type of project and name it under that plus sign, you get folders, and it will remember more of what you gave it, what you told it, what you taught, and what it gave you back. So that's just something somebody taught me, and it has made a world of difference. Okay, great to catch up with all of you. Show's over. No, let's go to our opening quotes. I asked you each again for another movie or TV show quote from a fictional character, and Matt has provided a quote from Dr. Eldon Tyrell, played by Joe Turkel or Turkel, speaking to the replicant Roy Batty, played by Rutger Hauer. The movie, of course, is the 1982 sci-fi film Blade Runner, adaptation of Philip K. Dick's 1968 novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I never read that, but maybe I should. Harrison Ford leads the cast. Edward James Olmos was in it. Sean Young. Okay, set in a dystopian future, LA of 2019, where synthetic humans, aka replicants, are bioengineered by the powerful Tyrell Corporation to work on space colonies when a fugitive group of advanced replicants led by Roy Batty escapes back to Earth. Question is, why do they want to come back here? Sorry. Former cop Rick Deckard, Harrison Ford, reluctantly agrees to hunt them down. And here is the quote Matt has selected. The light that burns twice as bright burns half as all. Ooh, I don't know about that one, Matt. What does that have to do with our topic? Go.
Look, you think about AI and futuristic, and Blade Runner was the first one that came to mind, and that seemed like a good quote to play off of as we talk about obviously energy and data centers and all that. So it was more of bringing that all to life from that movie.
Okay, and what's the message there? Is AI burning too bright? Are we doing it? Those of us who embrace it? What's the thought?
I think that AI is gonna, yeah, just keep burning, and everyone's relying on it. You're seeing how it affects the economy so much, and yes, I think there's aspects that all tie together.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And let's go to Faryar's. Am I pronouncing your name right, Faryar?
You got it right. Yeah, it's very phonetic.
Okay, just
Yeah.
want to make sure. I should have asked you before. Here's the quote you picked from Dr. Ian Malcolm, played by who else? Jeff Goldblum. Movie, of course, Jurassic Park 1993, sci-fi. We're on another sci-fi film here, directed by Steven Spielberg, of course. Dinosaurs, let's see, set on a fictional island, if anybody doesn't know the movie, Isla Nublar near Costa Rica, where wealthy businessman John Hammond, played by Richard Attenborough, and genetic scientists have created a wildlife park of de-extinct dinosaurs when industrial sabotage leads to a catastrophic shutdown of power facilities and security precautions. A small group of visitors struggle to survive and escape the now perilous island. And speaking of new, I just want to tell you this. The dinosaurs were created with groundbreaking computer-generated imagery by Industrial Light and Magic, with life-size animatronic dinosaurs built by somebody named Stan Winston and his team. To showcase the sound design, they mixed animal noises for the dinosaur sounds, and Steven Spielberg invested in the creation of DTS, a company specializing in digital surround sound formats. The film was backed by, here, gentlemen, a $65 million marketing campaign. Jeremy, wouldn't you love to have that behind one of your... His eyes just bulged, which included licensing deals with over 100 companies. Yeah, they really knew how to do it. Here's the quote. Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Okay, what does this do for us today? Talk to me.
Yeah, well, I think the quote kind of captures it, at least in my mind. There's so much that we can do with AI, and still, actually, we haven't even figured out how much we can do. The question, I think we even talked about it last time, is should we be doing some of these things, or should we be running 100 miles an hour into it without fully appreciating the power of it? That's really where I sit. In-house, obviously, I'm in a highly regulated industry, and so we have to be quite careful about where we take steps and what risks we take. It's not about not taking smart risks. We have to do that, and we have to stay up to speed on all these technologies. But I also want to make sure that we're doing it with proper governance. And so sometimes we have to ask ourselves, yeah, it's super nice to have that, but should we have that? And so I thought that quote resonated with me quite a lot. And I think a lot of people are grappling with that when it comes to AI, whether you're on the agency side or the company side. It is really, yeah, it makes my life easier, but I mean, am I just fully trusting this thing? Are we using it in all the right ways? Are we asking the right ethical questions? I think all of that is still very true.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Appreciate that. And let's go to Jeremy's quote. This is from Thomas Shelby, played by Cillian Murphy. Peaky Blinders, this British historical crime drama TV series 2013 to 2020. I never saw it, Jeremy. Did you watch the series?
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay, I need to go back and find it. Created by Stephen Knight, set in Birmingham, it follows the exploits of the Peaky Blinders crime gang in the direct aftermath of World War I. The fictional gang is loosely based on a real urban youth gang active in the city from the 1800s to the 1920s. Shelby is the iconic leader of the gang. Murphy played the character across all 6 seasons and in the subsequent film. Very, very interesting. Okay, and it's a family of mixed Irish traveler and Romani origins based in Birmingham, England. We'll stop there. Here's the quote. This is pretty. Fortune drops something valuable in your lap. You don't just dump it on the bank of the cut. You have to unpack this for me, please, Jeremy. What does all this mean? What does it mean?
Right. The bank of the cut. The cut's the canals that run through Birmingham, and one of them going through there is called the Cut. And where they're based, it's all around this canal system. They use it to do different things. One of the things I loved about Cillian Murphy's portrayal of Thomas Shelby is he's a bit of a futurist and an opportunist. And when I just had been watching the show to catch up before the movie and thinking about what would he do, with AI. And, he would be all over it. He would be exploiting anything he could, probably on the illegal side using AI. But he was a very big opportunist. He saw, the moves 3 or 4 steps in advance, and he took advantage of any kind of technology or knowledge or information or tools at his disposal or anything that he thought he could get his hands on. And I think people need to look at AI like this. It's hard for me to imagine any kind of job or kind of service or anything you can do today that can't be enhanced with AI. It's not to replace what you're doing. It's to give you more efficiencies, to help you to accomplish more goals, to help you to make life easier. And I think I have a hard time doing what Faryar does, and like not just blindly walking in and doing as much as I can with AI. And I think that's one of the things that people are going to struggle with, and I feel overwhelmed with it too. There's so many new tools coming out all the time. I want to try them all. I want to implement them all, and then sometimes I realize I've spent so much time with this tool that's not actually helping me. It's sapping energy and effort, and I think that's a balance that people are going to have to work through as they immerse themselves more and more into AI.
It's the old new shiny toy theory, isn't that? That's the game, is what's shiny and what's new and what are people talking about and should I, would I, could I, why didn't I, why did I find it, why did I use it, what did I spend on it, was it money, was it time, was it effort, was it hopes and dreams and visions? So much going on. But to me, it's an exciting time. It's really an exciting time. Who talked about programming? Was that who talked about coding something new? Which one of you? Was it Faryar or Matt? Who said you don't have to code anymore? Was that you, Jeremy?
I said that.
You said that. I have to tell you, I'm an early coder. I was a coder. I won't tell you how many years ago. I was a programmer analyst, and it was great pride that I could write 2,000 lines of code and key punch it over the weekend, key punch it Monday morning, and having it running up in production by 12 noon that day with maybe one small syntax error and be able to produce reports for the company I was working for. So I remember the euphoria of solving the puzzle of a blank sheet and a report that needed to get out, and how do you get there? And there is a creativity to that. But I guess the creativity today is, what prompts do you give your AI? Jeremy, am I right?
Yeah, it's not too dissimilar. I mean, look, I also too, have a history with code. I started off with QBasic and did a lot of the
Okay.
time with C++, all
Okay.
archaic languages to people
Okay.
of today. But it helps you understand, looking at a strategic level, like what you're trying to accomplish, like what's the end result of functions that you're putting together? What are they going to output, right? And I think this is the same thing with prompts, except you don't have to go and learn a different language to write prompts. You're just using logic-based kind of syntax to feed information and get outputs that you're looking for. So I do feel that people who have some, experience or touching on to, computer codes or even Python, anything like this is going to give them this kind of mental architecture to help them feed prompts into, large language models or agentic AI tools to kind of get the outputs they're looking for. So all's not lost for us, Bonnie.
Thank you very much. We lost Matt. Matt, are you here? You want to come back? I'm ready to thank you all for the quotes and for the conversation. Matt, I'm ready to do your predictions if you are coming back to us. He's muted and he's off the screen. So maybe I'll just, does anybody know what's going on with Matt? I guess not. Okay, well, and I'm going to scoot ahead and I'm going to quickly pick a prediction from Faryar. Just let me go down to here. Okay, this is interesting. I'm going to pick your prediction number one. I'll read it, you'll unpack it, and then we'll go around the table and see if Matt can come back. He's still offline. Okay, Faryar says, creating a new brand or refreshing, remaking an existing brand. And you say AI is about to make brand building radically more dynamic. Brands will be co-designed with audiences through real-time insights, not locked in boardrooms. I'm going to stop there and let you push and pull it however you want to go. Faryar, go ahead.
Yes, where was I thinking about this? So I think if you go back to where social media started, right, there was a real opportunity for brands to have, I think, a stronger finger on the pulse of what people cared about, right? You were getting instant feedback. It was no longer focus groups that you'd have to do and coordinate and schedule, right? You were hearing real time what people really liked, what they didn't like, and they had no problem sharing it. And so how you use that information was really important. Again, I think AI just accelerates and magnifies all that. So on one hand, that's really, really good. And that's great because you're swimming in data. But if you don't really know what to do with it and you're not prepared for it, it's going to be very difficult, right? And on the flip side of that, the point of that insight or prediction was, I don't think brands have the luxury anymore of sitting within their four walls and saying, here's what we think is going to happen. Here's how we're going to build this thing. Here's what the tone and the persona of our brand will be, and people are going to love it. That's not true anymore. I think people are taking brands on full speed ahead. And if they're a big consumer or sort of evangelist of the brand, they're kind of synonymous with the brand now. I mean, influencers are all over the place. If they can kind of take the brand hostage if you're not careful. And so that's all I meant. I think AI, it's a force multiplier, right? In some ways, a lot of what has already existed will continue to. It's going to give you more. And if you don't have the right processes, I keep coming back to this, it's going to be really difficult for you to make any sense of it.
Thank you. Very well put. Matt, you're just joining us back again. Did you hear the prediction? I want to get your feedback on
I
it.
did not. I would love to hear it again.
Okay, I'm going to read the prediction and then we'll have Jeremy go first. And then Faryar said, creating a new brand, or refreshing or remaking an existing one. AI is about to make brand building radically more dynamic. Brands will be co-designed with audiences through real-time insights, not locked in boardrooms. So, Jeremy, what's your take on this? Agree or disagree?
I completely agree. This is inevitable that all brands have to shift into this as more and more technology and tools come online to help support your ability to kind of customize all interactions with customers. You're going to see it modified down to the individual level. I mean, this is relationship intelligence, and we're able to aggregate it at scale now. So specific to Newsmatics, I mean, we're looking at this as at how people interact with news. So how people consume news, what sort of information are they taking out of it? How long do they engage with it? How do they verify the sources, if they're real, or if it's fake news, or, the people are going to interact with things that make them feel good, that give them the information that they're looking for, or provide something that they're looking for. And if your brand or your business or your messaging is customized at an individual level that resonates with individuals, they're gonna come back. They're gonna respond more. You're gonna grow more. It's gonna be great. But the tools are coming. Some are out already to help with this relationship intelligence. More and more will come online, making it much easier for brands to kind of engage like this.
And then there's a question of what data do you trust? Matt, thoughts on this before I spew off here? Matt?
Yeah, no, I think that what's interesting too is, from an A/B testing and even the, perception audits that happen, with journalists to see where they're going. And I think this can help brands bypass that. It just cuts the time into, engaging and starting a campaign because you're seeing what's out there. And again, to that point, you trust it, but then you're able to see different factors. And I think that's helped, bring those to life.
Thank you. I'm going to throw this question out and anybody can answer it. Are you talking about data from polls that, for example, your agency puts out? Are you talking about surveys from big brand survey companies? Are you talking about, what do they call it? Sensory perception of AI on people's emails, on what's going on in a client's relationship with perhaps the companies, the people who are buying their brands, any complaints? I'm going to get to crisis management in a minute with Matt's prediction, but where is this data coming from? I'm curious. Anybody want to help me out with this?
I'll have one more. Sorry, Jeremy, I cut you off. Go for it.
Faryar, you go first, and I'm definitely happy to comment on this.
All right.
Well,
I was just going to
fight over me.
add something to the list, right? Because synthetic audiences are also a really helpful tool here, right? So I think there's so much data that already exists out there, open source, proprietary data. There's a lot, right? And so AI has a really, I think, amazing ability to take all this secondary data and just create some sense of it that's directionally helpful, right? In the same way that you might do a traditional focus group or polling that's all anonymous, et cetera. So I think we use synthetic audiences just to help us sort of understand how would someone respond to a message that we put out there or an action that we take. Even internally, are we putting out this message? Are we getting all the right things in the letter that people would actually care about based on prior surveys, polls, et cetera? So you take all the stuff that previously existed and feed it in. It's not perfect. I don't think any of that is. It's all directional. But synthetic audiences are quite helpful. And I know a lot of companies are using this to a really amazing degree.
Define what is a synthetic audience? Brand new term for me, please.
Oh, sure. So you're training the tool, right? You're training AI to basically say, listen, you are this persona. You are our employee that sits in a call center. You're between these ages, this tenure. Here's all the information we have on that persona. Now, how would that react to what we've said?
Got it.
Right? And people are using that for all types of marketing, external, internal. People are using it for investor relations. It's quite expansive right now.
Thank you. Jeremy, your thoughts, please?
Yeah, look, everything that you mentioned, all those all those points are data sets to be aggregated in, and profiles built upon them. From our EI and Presswire side, where we're doing press release distribution, we're seeing smart pitching technologies where you want to approach a journalist to pitch your idea. You've got a press release out. AI can help you customize the email, the LinkedIn connect based on every data point about that journalist that the AI agent can find, and then help you write a message that he's more likely to read, more likely to engage, or her read, engage with, and then have some sort of action item out of it. So again, it goes back to this. All data is being aggregated. Everything you do online or with your phone in your pocket is being collected, and that the profiles are being generated. And tools are going to allow you to really drill down with very, very personalized information and data points to reach each other. And I know that this is not doom and gloom and none of this, but I
No,
think this
no,
can
it's
help
not.
us with a lot of perspectives. But people obviously want to connect this to the dot of Skynet, and they know everything about us. But this is where it's going. Everything you do is collected. All this data is going to be useful in some capacity to
I'm
engage with you.
I'm smiling so much because back in the day, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, the mode was if you want to connect with somebody on Facebook, LinkedIn, you have to go read their profile and figure out what they like. Are you both Giants fans? Do you both like sushi? Do you both like big screen movies, sci-fi movies? Are you both fans of Peaky Blinders? And then you connected with them. It's all about relationship building. We know that, right? Wasn't that the Chase brand once at one point or another, your relationships? Anyway, the point is that we had to do that manually and find out and find one hook, one thing that we had in common or we knew that the person liked or did or favored, and say to them, I understand you're a such and such fan, or you've been to Paris 3 times or something. So AI is famous for pattern recognition, right? For collecting and aggregating data. Matt, anything you want to say about that, the data sources?
Yeah, I think again to Faryar's point, that's the reason I picked Blade Runner with synthetic audiences, so I know
Yep.
that he was listening. The other factor is I think it takes away from a lot of the qualitative and quantitative, more of that sort of touchy-feely stuff that would be done from a research standpoint. But I think that the data is better. I think that at the end of the day, you can
Mm.
look at it and be trust in those aspects.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go. Now that you're back, Matt, I have a prediction I wanted to share from you. I think this is an interesting one. You say AI will move crisis response from reactive to predictive. Brains won't just respond to crises, they will see them coming. I'm going to stop there and let you unpack this for us. Tell us more. Matt, where's this coming from?
Yeah, I put on my CPG hat, and you look at it from the if as AI can look down the ingredient panels, can look down what's going on with the manufacturing, with tariffs, with all those things, to be able to understand if what defines a crisis. So if it is not being able to make your numbers, not being able to get product out into stores. So there's aspects that I feel that it's going to see, and we've had clients that have used that to understand that, and I think that's an element that it can be helpful and beneficial for brands to think that way and to utilize it as a tool to explore and expand upon what they're doing and how they get products to market. So I think that's an interesting play, in general, and I think that's what's going to help, in many ways.
How do you see a crisis coming, Matt?
I
How
think
will
there's a
it?
lot of ways, just predictive. Yeah, I mean, I think we've had a number. Crisis could be a bad Yelp review all the way through fatalities in a manufacturing facility. We've had
Hmm.
that. So I think when you look at it from analytics in that regard, again, the fatalities because what happened, and it was a meatpacking plant. The one guy in the supply chain didn't get the right amount of coolant and the nitrogen, all those things, and
Ouch.
it wiped out the whole this one room. There was like 5 people
Oh,
that were killed. So.
oh,
But again, AI would be exploring, looking at it, monitoring it a deeper way than you're in that whatever supply chain, but also the leadership chain that one person was in charge of it. So there's ways that it can be able to analyze all those factors to ensure that obviously you want the machine to keep running, but the fact that you have that element of keeping things cool and what that means. So I think those are factors it can look at and also analyze. Again, down to the lowest one of a bad Yelp review, analyzing staffing and traffic and the amount of turns and tickets for that night, where's touch points that you can look at it from, customers that are coming in to ensure that you're, making the restaurant work a little smarter.
thank you. Let's go around the table. Faryar, you want to comment on that, please? Agree or
And I
disagree?
think in some businesses, crises are inevitable, right? They're always going to happen. Actually, in most, if not all businesses, a crisis or issue will happen. And so as communicators, we're always prepared for that. That's a part of the job. Having said that, I think AI can help us make sure that the crisis, once it happens, doesn't get magnified or kind of blow up, right? And I think it allows us, I think, to see more trends and patterns before we could ever see them, or it would take hundreds, if not thousands of hours for us to do that, right? And what I mean by that is the last time a crisis happened that is similar to the one that you're maybe managing now, maybe the word choice that you use, maybe how quickly you responded, maybe the stakeholder that you used to respond, the spokesperson, maybe the media that you worked with, all of those things, it could at least help you again directionally figure out, well, based on the current climate, based on all the things you did before, here's what we might recommend that you do differently, right? So I think it's always about mitigation on the front end to make sure it doesn't happen. But once it does, how are you making sure you contain it? And I think AI is a massive tool in that toolbox.
Jeremy, thoughts?
Yeah, completely agree with Faryar. The preemptive abilities to identify trends before they become a trend, right? When the little ripple that's going to turn into a big wave is starting to put out anomalies, humans have a hard time to spend enough effort and energy to see these, right? But if you can deploy AI to constantly pour through data, you're out in front of this before it happens, and you can adjust your brand narrative control and your messaging to get out in front of it and make sure that ripple hits up against the rock before you need a big bulwark to stop the wave. So I agree that there's so much computing power now and analytics power now available for everybody, big businesses, small businesses, that these tools are out there. And that leads over into like deep fakes, right? There's so much AI slop and AI generated content and deep fake videos and information coming out there. There's tools that can go out and kind of snip these out before they get traction, before they get picked up by actual journalists and write something about it, or before they trend on social media. So you see it coming, and you get your messaging out in front of it and nip it in the bud.
I have two things to say. Number one is the new Coca-Cola. Remember that. Bust. And Sydney Sweeney. Do I need to say more? The jeans ad? Is there any way AI could have predicted the backlash? And I'm not using that word lightly. Is there any way that companies could have seen that, especially on the Coca-Cola? Could they have seen that people weren't ready for it? They didn't like it. They hated it. Take it off the market. That was an expensive reveal, an expensive release, wasn't it? And then they didn't like it. So anyway, just interesting. AI probably wasn't so front and center at the point where they released that brand, where they said, we have something new for you, and didn't know that people wouldn't like it. I'm going to move on. Thank you very much for that. Jeremy, I'm looking at your prediction number 2. You say AI will help with preparing a media pitch and media kit for a client. AI is a collaborator, I know that, an accelerator, not a true replacement for humans, we agree, in creating media kits and pitching media. AI should already be helping you structure the media kits after you provide it with insight and allow it to analyze topical trends journalists are writing about and what your competitors are succeeding with. A lot of information in there. Jeremy, can you unpack that for me, please? And then we'll go around the table.
Look, I think this just goes back in the evolution of my thought processes and talking to more customers in the 4 months since we've been apart, right? Like AI for a lot of people is still just this assistant where they're asking questions into an ask engine and getting an output, right? Everyone should be leveraging it as a strategic partner. It's helping you plan what your next moves are, the type of content you want to get together, or what expenditures are going to be, or where you should be putting ad spend out. But again, as I pay attention to more and more tools, there are like smart pitching technologies that are out, right? So it's helping you customize individual pitches to individuals at scale. So you're not working on a proposal and then going to the next business with another proposal. You can have 50 proposals ready for 50 customers, have them all sent out, and then you're looking at the data. Who opened everything? How was their engagement with it? What are their responses like? And it's learning as well. If you feed all this information back into these AI tools, it's teaching you things, and it's teaching itself how to be a better strategic partner for you. So I think everybody goes through this cycle of understanding how they can leverage AI, and we're all doing it together, and it's very scary, but also it feels like there's limitless potential and possibilities.
I like that. Limited unlimited potential possibilities. That's why I do this show. And I tell people if you want to go talk about negativity or AI having power over us or eliminating jobs or humans, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the opportunities, the good things. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Matt Faryar, you want to chime in on what Jeremy just shared?
Yeah, I think it's something that, we again utilize, activate. I've gone through, I've worked with Jeremy's team on it as well. So I've seen the results and also have learned from it as well. And I think it's something as you bring on, new team members and new aspects, that's where some of our policies came into place of ways to utilize AI, but not, it's not the end all be all. So as it's learning, people need to learn as well and help guide it before anything gets to a client or before it gets to externally. It needs to be shared internally and approved by multiple peoples so that it's not, promising or saying things that aren't correct. But it's been great. I think it's helped from a time standpoint and also just key learnings in what it's finding, within our brands as to what they promise or what they tell us they're doing. But then your AI is seeing the real story, and we're able to go back with deeper questions.
Well put. Thank you. Faryar, comments?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little controversial because I know we don't want
Yeah.
to talk about sort of the doom and gloom, but I honestly believe it's an opportunity. So I'll couch it in this way.
Okay.
I think it's absolutely going to replace people. Let's be very upfront about that.
Yeah.
I think it is, and it already has. Let's be very real.
Yeah.
I think it's only going to continue. Now, what I would say is you could look at that as a big threat or you could look at that as a big opportunity. And I choose, and I think a lot of us will choose that as an opportunity. And why it's an opportunity is it does the things like we already talked about. Jeremy, you talked about, Matt, you talked about. It gives you time back to be a lot more strategic and position yourself as a thought leader rather than a doer, right? I always tell people it's like, I know you can do, I need to know that you can think, right? And so I think
Ah.
the ability with AI is it helps me take all the mundane tactical work out of the equation. What it
Mm-hmm.
can't necessarily do is interpret nuance, at least not yet, and at least take away all these different data points and make some really solid decisions and inform and persuade. That's what it can't do yet. So I think the old paradigm of what we've looked at as junior talent, I will say, in communications and PR, that's not what it is today. You need people who are really comfortable with numbers, really comfortable with gray, really adept at, I think, business and having strong acumen in those things. AI has changed that. Before, those weren't the things or characteristics that we always prioritize. They were nice to have, but they weren't must haves. So, what I would say is that's true for the agency side, and these guys can keep me honest on that. I think it's also very true on the in-house side, right? Clients and their leadership teams and their boards are worried about headline risk more than anything right now, is my guess, because there is
Yep.
direct proof that it impacts your shareholder value, right?
Yep.
And if you aren't, as the communicator or reputation manager, involved in those conversations, then trust me, AI is going to replace you. So I think I don't. It's not doom and gloom, but let's also be very real that it is happening, and just use that as an opportunity.
That's not doom and gloom to me. That is opportunity. And the question is, humans need to learn to think more. We need to
Yeah,
train our students from early ages in school to think, to understand how to solve problems. Uh, I read that recently some university professors are no longer giving take-home assignments because they know everybody was using
right.
AI. So they're doing in-class recitation assignments, and you have to be able to defend whatever your thesis is or your theory. And it's changing the way they're saying, yes, it's okay to use it in some circumstances, but we want you to know how to think, compute, evaluate, persuade, all of the good things that you said. I'm looking at the clock. We have time for maybe one more prediction. I'm enjoying this very much, by the way. Matt, I'm going to bring in one of yours, and then I have a question for all of you before we go. Matt, you say autonomous response systems will handle the first 80% of social firestorms. And Matt says the first wave of a crisis is chaotic, and increasingly AI will manage it. AI powered systems will, I'm just going to read one of these, auto generate platform specific responses for Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, etc. in the brand voice. Matt, this is exciting. This sounds like how can a PR firm afford not to be using AI for this? So what do you think?
I think the first element, and I think Fire touched on it, was in any crisis, there's always gonna be a crisis, but it's what you do in the pre-work of having all those approved messages, your phone chain, all the things that are tactical, but having the key messages that can get out there in a way that's trying to mitigate it, or at least let people know that you're aware of it. I think that's something, and you touched on it yourself, Bonnie, of what is human, what are bots. You're talking to it, and having that be able to come to life in a way that can help as the background of trying to solve the crisis, if you will, or improve upon what's happening. I think that's where we're seeing it happening, but also I think it'll get, as we've said, it's learning more and more. So if you're apt to have more crises, it'll get better. But again, the goal is to be educating it while it's out there, and also having responses. And even in places like we said, some people don't go to Twitter or X, but it's a place they could live there. It's a way, you're having it populate in places where people consume their media, as Jeremy said. How are people going to find you? You want to make sure that you have all bases covered.
Thank you very much. Let's go around the table. Faryar or Jeremy, who wants to agree or disagree with Matt? Jeremy, unmuted first. You go.
Look, I completely agree, and just like it pulls back to one of my main messages from last time. Feed the LLMs, put your information out there, control your narratives, make sure that you're out in front of messaging. And then, now you will, once you start doing that, you'll start focusing on what's your share of model. It used to be people worried about share of voice, like how many people were seeing us compared to our competitors. Now it's share of model, how much of my information is being regurgitated to queries. So, stay out in front, learn as much as possible, push as much content out as you can, change the world.
Change it. Well, we like that in a good way. Faryar, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot more to add than what's already been said. I think reputational equity matters more than it ever has. And so how you're building that up over time, that's what's going to help you manage the crises even more directly and trim down that very long tail that sometimes exists. And I agree. I think the platforms will be sort of the first defense. And the idea is, are we using them correctly to do that? So, understand the tools, but don't just understand them in the moment of crisis. Keep investing in them.
Question. Thank you. Question for all three of you. Matt, I'll start with you. When somebody, an author, a new product creator, a founder is looking for a PR agency, should they be asking how much is your agency, when they're interviewing agencies or looking through the scope of what's available, how often or how much should they say, do you use AI? And how well are you equipped to use it well for my company, my brand? Let's just get an opinion piece here. I'm not looking for advertisements, but I think let's talk about it from the client side. So Matt, what do you think? What would your advice be?
I'd say yes. I think it should be a question, and we saw it for the very first time last week, which was funny. I thought I would be, quiet and asked, but it was actually a deeper discussion we were having, vibing really well on a call, and going through our capabilities, our experience obviously is parallel, and that came up, and I think created an even bigger discussion, and to the point where we have made it to the next round and the next round. So I think there's been an element of having that discussion and having an honest answer and being able to talk to it openly, which was really refreshing versus clients that either have their head in the sand and don't know anything about it or don't want to talk about it, or people that claim to be experts, and then as you start to talk, you see that it's the baseline is they're just using word salad to try and talk through it. So I think it's an important factor, and also as we've talked about today of the ways to use it and understand it, and still make sure that you're always learning alongside it.
Thank you. Faryar, what do you think? What's your advice?
I mean, as someone that hires agencies, firms, I want them to be using AI, to be honest with you. I think, we just said you need to be really adept and proficient in these tools. And the danger of going in-house is, you get so bogged down in all the things that are within our four walls. So firms are like my big entry point into what trends are going on, what best practices are happening, how do I stay up to speed? Tell me what I don't know. And if they're not focused on AI, that's a problem for me, right? So like I said earlier, I care how they think. And if they're using tools really well to sort of give me a better product or give me some better advice, nothing like it.
Thank you. Jeremy, thoughts, please?
So we're kind of on the flip side. Like we work with a lot of agencies with the EI and Presswire part of our business, and so we see it from the other perspective. And if I was going to take EI and Presswire to a PR agency to figure out how they could help us, it would be very important to understand how they're leveraging AI, because we want to make sure that they're cutting out all the inefficiencies that they might have been doing 5 years ago without AI, and then now focusing on the human relationships that they built over years of experience and focusing on that, right? Let AI do all the, the low level stuff, the data entry, some of the analytics, etc. I want to hire you because you know the people that I need to be pitching my product to, or I need to be getting out in front of to gain earned media. So yeah, I think it must be a very important question up front, and part of any proposal that an agency would put out to a potential client.
Thank you. Quick question around. We have about 2 more minutes. What about if somebody says to you, Matt, but what about the hallucinations AI has recently been famous for, the non-existent law cases, things that we know are all fake and made up that could damage our brand? And what about if somebody comes to you and says, but the electricity, but look what it's using, look what it's doing to the environment, the power grid, the ecosystem? I don't want a big controversial answer from any of you, but just is there a quick off the top you would say to them to turn them around, or tell them that's not my problem? I don't know. Matt, what do you think?
That nothing can go out until other humans have read through stuff. So that's how we try and mitigate any of those from that standpoint.
Okay, good answer. Faryar, what do you think? What would you say?
Trust but verify, right? I mean, I mean, we see this all the time. I mean, the tools are just giving back as, I mean, it's not coming up with new information. It's just regurgitating stuff that humans have already created anyway, right? So I think, I mean, it eventually will, but I think if we're trusting these just on arrival, then we got bigger problems. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Jeremy, what would you say?
Really agree. Humans still have the critical thinking that AI doesn't have. You have to apply it to anything you're doing. Like I actually pit different ask engines against themselves. I'll ask them the same questions. I'll put the answer from one into another and have them challenge each themselves. So, you got to take everything you get with a grain of salt. Just like if you meet somebody on the street in your town selling you, a piece of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Oh, really? I used to live in Queens, so I understand that. A lot of people might not. I was recently pitched to apply for a job that was tailor-made for me. Let's put the adjective in front of tailor-made, too tailor-made for me. Thought leadership, moderating, leading, hosting, broadcasting, podcasting. And this person and I went back and forth over several days, and there was a salary attached to it. And I said, I'm not relocating. Is it remote? They asked, would you do hybrid? I said, no, I'm not moving. Has to be remote. And we were at the point where they said, okay, we want to take the next step. And these were long letters, and they were like somebody was just standing over my shoulder and saying, we know what you do. And then they said, please send us your resume. Well, I worked with my Sylvie, my chat GPT, and I said, how should let me help me update it? And how much do I put in it? And she said, attach. I asked her what font to use in the attachment, and I like Calibri font rather than, and I said, or time. She said, no, Calibri 11 point. We went through all the details, what to put in the header, how much info, phone number, LinkedIn, email, and then, okay, so I sent this, and I didn't hear back from this so-called person, who apparently was from a major recruiting company that has 10,000 employees all over the world. The name was real. The person has a, anyway, after I got real scared, and I woke up one day at 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, oh my God, what have I done? And then 4 days later, I got the response. And the response was, we cannot proceed because you didn't send a standard CV style resume. It was a narrative. We can't use this internally. And that's when I made the mistake of what I should have done before, was looking at their email address. And let's use the name Mary Smith. Mary.Smith at nameofcompany.com at Gmail. That was the clue. I missed it. And an hour later, I got the same exact pitch from somebody who apparently was from another major recruiting firm with a big name, also.com at Gmail. So I learned my lesson. Nothing was lost. I changed all the passwords and put the financial stuff somewhere else. But this is where we get hooked in, don't we? By these. It was so good, Matt. It was so good. I said, oh my God, somebody really values what I do. Anyway, I have nothing but good thoughts to think about the three of you. I appreciate your being here. I hope this was good for you. And I'm going to encourage you. Who was it who said things have changed from since you were here 4 months ago? Why don't we do a part 3 in the fall? I'd love to have you back if you're if you still like me. Okay. And we'll see what's new. Matt, are you willing? Come back?
Yeah, if we're still here, yes.
Faryar, you come back?
What Matt said.
Matt doesn't want to be alone. Jeremy, I know you'll come back.
Good,
Okay.
I'll echo. Yep.
I'm going to put on some closing music here. We're just about to go, and I'm putting on the music for my new show, Say What Good News. Say what? Join me.
Nice.
Dance with me. Come on, Matt. I want to see you dance. Say what? Is Matt going to dance? Oh, all right.
Bring it
He's a
home.
one-armed disco dancer.
That was raising the roof. It was excellent.
I know. Morning coffee in my cup. Make a teacup. Scrolling. I've had enough. This is for all of you. Same old drama. Same old feed. Flip the dial. That's what we need. Turn it up. Let the bad vibes fade. Headlines, we need new ones. Hit play. Good news. We talk it out. You're all bringing good news, right? Good people doing what they do. Say what? Feel a smile coming through. I'm Bonnie D. Happy to be here. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.